From WATN in high definition, it's Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
It's time to get the real story behind the big stories. Thanks for joining us this Sunday morning. I'm Richard Ransom. Before I introduce my roundtable, let's get to our topics today. The gloves are off. You can tell we're closing in on the August primary almost anytime you turn on your TV. The governor's race is especially combative among Republicans, but the Democratic frontrunner also raising eyebrows, referring to Memphis as the forgotten Tennessee. The Shelby County general election is on the same day as the primary, so why is the county mayor's race so noticeably friendly so far? And the election process itself also making news this week as Democrats get fired up over the Shelby County Election Commission's choice of an early voting site. We'll get to all of that coming up, but first, let me introduce to you our panel this morning. We have Susan Adler-Thorpe with Thorpe Communications and a political consultant. Scott Golden is the chairman of the Tennessee Republican Party, and he's graced us with his presence today, and also Local 24 political analyst and commentator Otis Sanford. So let's first start by saying local TV stations are doing very well lately because lots of politicians are spending lots of money. We were expecting that things would really pick up after July 4th because that's traditionally what happens, but it really has picked up earlier than that. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, the gloves are off. Let's start by giving you an example of that. Here is the attack ad unleashed by the Diane Black campaign this week.
Diane Black, endorsed by the NRA, and she helped write Trump's tax cut. Is Diane Black too conservative? Randy Boyd says she is, but Randy Boyd also disavowed Donald Trump in 2016. Randy Boyd backed a big tax increase in Knoxville. Boyd even calls himself
the most hated political entity, a moderate.
And Bill Lee's a moderate too. He pushed for a liberal Nashville mayor who tried to make Nashville a sanctuary city. This race is simple: two moderates or conservative Diane Black.
All right, that's not the first attack ad because there was a special interest group that launched something against Diane Black that was linked to Randy Boyd, but this is the first one that a campaign has put out. And Scott, I don't envy your position. You have to stay neutral. You've got these four candidates going at each other, but how should we interpret Diane Black being first on the air with an attack ad?
I think we're 2 weeks before early voting, and this is the time. You know, we've been hearing kind of all along this race has been slow to develop, and some of that's because, of course, with President Trump, you know, that is what the nation is glued to. So the voters in Tennessee have been watching what's happening in Washington, and I think we're finally in that zone where people are beginning to make up their mind over, you know, who they're going to pick to be the next governor. So this is about the time that it comes, and you know, campaigns have different strategies. Of course, the 4th of July week is a tough week because everybody's going to be on vacation next week. But so this is, you know, right on the cusp of that, and I think we're probably going to be likely to see this over the next 5 weeks before the election plays out.
Otis, Diane picked up the endorsement of the NRA since the last debate she was in, a pro-life group. She's kind of perceived, at least by expenditures anyway, to be the front runner in this race. What does it say that usually the one who launches the attack ad is the one who's most worried about where they stand?
I think maybe she's seen some stuff behind the scenes that I don't see, which is maybe some of these other candidates are gaining on her. She picked a good week, I think, to go on the attack and link herself even more to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has had a pretty good week past week with the Supreme Court decision on the travel ban, and then the announcement by Justice Kennedy that he's going to retire, put the focus back on him. This is a good week for Diane Black to link herself even more to Donald Trump and tell the voters that these other three are criticizing Donald Trump, are not with Donald Trump. They're the moderates, I'm the conservatives. It was actually a pretty good strategy if she planned it that way.
I think you can make a case that the Black campaign and the Bredesen campaign right now are the more smartly run, based on your analysis there, and then I'll explain on the Bredesen side when we get to that. But your take on the Diane Black?
Well, I think that clearly she's on the attack because she feels attacked, and attack ads work. They do. I mean, there was a real negative attack ad against Diane Black a few weeks ago from some PAC, and which put a negative view on her. So I think that she's coming out against Randy Boyd, against Bill Lee, clearly. I think there are poll numbers out there that we don't get to see. Otherwise, she wouldn't spend her money attacking the others if she felt comfortable in first place.
Well, campaigns love to brag about their poll numbers if they're good, and Scott made a good point. We haven't heard anybody bragging lately, so maybe they're closer than we think.
It's pretty tight.
Let's look at an ad just out by Bill Lee. He actually has two, but we're going to show you one of them that takes an interesting approach that you don't see very often in politics.
People ask me all the time, what do you believe? Let me tell you, My relationship with Christ is the most important thing in my life. That will never change. Life begins at conception. We must protect the unborn. The Second Amendment, a constitutional right. It's not up for negotiation. And I'll defend the rule of law. Tennessee will never have sanctuary cities when I'm governor. I'm Bill Lee, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Otis, jump in on this one first as you look at the other.
Well, I was looking at the hay in the background because I was a farm boy. You know, I used to bale hay,
right?
So I was paying attention to that. Hey, look, it's not a surprising ad when you look at who I think Bill Lee is really going for. He's trying to convince conservative evangelicals that, hey, I'm right here with you. Don't look at these other candidates. I'm a bona fide Christian conservative. I will fight for those values, you know, the right to life and kicking out all of the immigrants. I'm right there with you. I think that's a good strategy on his part because he's in third, fourth place.
Anyone disagree with my other two here?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, look, I've had the great fortune to be with all these candidates for the last 14, 15 months. I mean, I have really grown to love them. And a lot of what they're saying in their television ads, I will tell you firsthand that they've been talking about this for, you know, a year and a half now. And that goes for all of them. You know, we're just now beginning to be exposed to it as they're putting it on the air, but this is what they've been talking about. And so in that particular case, Mr. Lee, it's something that he's been about since day one.
Yep.
So.
Well, and his conservative position is exactly what they're after, that base of the party. But he mentions that he's anti-abortion and that he's pro-Second Amendment, two things that the governor of Tennessee will have nothing to do about. I mean, he has no sway on that. But Otis, he didn't say he was going to kick immigrants out. He just said he didn't want any sanctuary cities. Well, he couldn't say kick out immigrants if he starts by saying that he believes, you know, his greatest love in life is Christ, and then he can't say that he's kicking them out. So, come on.
Well, I mean,
that doesn't go in this.
Okay, that might have been a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But the fact is that we don't even have sanctuary cities. So I don't even know why people are even talking about sanctuary cities.
It's a big issue in this campaign.
Except to drive some anti-immigrant sentiment. That's all.
That's right. It's the hot issues driving uber conservatives to the polls.
That's all I'm saying.
All right, other states didn't have them before they had them as well. Yeah. So I think that there is kind of a feeling, particularly among Republicans, that, you know, we need to get in front of the
They've already done that at the legislature.
They have.
All right, let's talk about Carl Dean's ad. He's the front runner in the Democratic side, and he's all about the economy, the state economy.
There's a forgotten Tennessee, places where the jobs have left, where families have no health insurance, and students can't get the skills they need to compete. I'm Carl Dean, and I grew up in a small factory town like this. If you live in the forgotten Tennessee, as governor, I'll hear you. As mayor of Nashville, I pushed innovative solutions that Republicans and Democrats could agree on. All of these challenges are connected, and no one should be left behind.
Okay, so that got some attention because the Memphis skyline was part of the forgotten Tennessee, and he has said he's not going to forget about this part of the state. Susan, you first.
Yeah, well, do you believe him? No, I think it was a pleasant ad. He's a Democrat. He's got to get out there and stay on message and stay in front of the voters. He's going to win the Democratic primary, but he's going to have to ingratiate himself more to West Tennesseans and Democrats to drive them to the polls.
Anyone else?
You know, I'll say this. I'll stack Governor Haslam's record of caring about rural communities up against any governor in the country. I mean, the governor has made major job announcements out in rural Tennessee. For the first time, we have the lowest unemployment in the history of the state. I don't think any place in this state's been forgotten by anybody in Nashville.
I got to move on to the Senate race real quick. Phil Bredesen out with a new ad and analyze it on the other side.
I'm Phil Bredesen, and I approve this message. I've said before, if President Trump proposes something good for Tennessee, I'll be with him. That's why I'm fine with his outreach to North Korea. You gotta try. But if he proposes something that hurts Tennessee, I'll oppose it. And these new tariffs will hurt us. They hurt our auto industry, our farmers, even Tennessee exports like Jack Daniels. In the Senate, I'm going to do what's right for Tennessee.
And we don't have time to show the ad that also came out this week, in which, in response to Justice Kennedy's retirement, he's shot an ad in a courtroom saying, "I long for the days when Justice Ginsburg or Justice Scalia were nominated and got 90 or so votes in the Senate, and that's the kind of senator I'm going to be. So the events as they've played out seem to have played well into his campaign and the message he's trying to get out.
Richard, that ad, I think, is the best ad I've seen all year long in terms of an issue that all Tennesseans should care about. The tariffs is a big issue here, especially with the auto industry and other companies that deal with steel and aluminum. And he was not afraid to take on President Trump when nobody else is going to do that. I thought it was the best issue ad I've seen all year long.
And then to say I support the president on North Korea, you know, he's playing that middle road pretty well.
I agree. He's playing the middle road very well. You know, the thing about the Supreme Court justices is that we will know who it is before their next term begins in October. So during this campaign,
that's great. That's great.
I think it's great for Republicans.
It's great for Republicans.
I think President Trump is looking forward to having a new justice, and I know Marsha Blackburn will be supporting them.
And it's nice to see Mr. Pedersen is such an advocate of Tennessee whiskey as well.
Well, but more an advocate of Tennessee, and I think Otis was spot on. Great ad.
Yeah. All right, we're running along. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at some closer campaigns to West Tennessee and Shelby County in just a minute.
It's our 4th of July sale at Family Leisure.
It's hot and you need a pool. Only $6.99 complete. 24-foot pools now only $17.76 installed. Sit comfortably in a new patio set. Poly, sling, wicker, cast, and more. Huge selection of patio umbrellas, bases, and covers. Spas and swim spas at guaranteed lowest prices. Save big on outdoor play sets like this one. Barbecue islands, fire pits, and grills also on sale now, but you better hurry.
4th of July sale going on now at Family Leisure.
The Mid-South's most accurate forecast from the local storm team, only on Local 24.
Generation after generation of West Tennesseans have been coming to my gun store. It's a privilege to sell the guns that keeps families safe. My cousin, Randy Boyd, is going to be the best governor the state has ever had defending the Second Amendment. And Randy, Tennessee has a chance for a true pro-Second Amendment governor. Let's not miss the mark on this one.
Conservative Randy Boyd for governor.
Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
My name is Mark Gary. My sister Leslie and I are proud third-generation family members who continue to serve the Mid-South with the quality products and services that our family has established. As proud Memphians, my family welcomes you to visit Hollywood Furniture, and we look forward to assisting you with the needs of your home.
Are you a natural problem solver? Do you find yourself always taking the lead? If you answered yes, Local 24 might have an opportunity for you in media sales. To apply, contact John Marshall at jmarshall@localmemphis.com. You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Mentioned the gloves were off. The District 8 race is no exception. George Flynn, who's trying to unseat incumbent David Kustoff, is out with this ad.
David Kustoff promised to shake things up, but instead he voted with Nancy Pelosi 227 times in his first term. Kustoff voted with Nancy Pelosi to fund Planned Parenthood. He also voted with Pelosi and against President Trump to protect trial lawyers, and voted with her to raise the federal deficit by nearly $1 trillion. Kustoff didn't shake things up. He voted with Nancy Pelosi hundreds of times.
I'm George Flynn. I approve this message, and I'll never support Nancy Pelosi.
This is a pretty big media buy. I'm guessing the polling shows that Nancy Pelosi doesn't test very well among West Tennessee Republicans. Just going out on a limb here. Susan?
Well, you know, I think it's riddled with half-truths and some no truths.
That's true, most attack ads, isn't it?
That's attack ads. And they're effective. They work, but as we said on this show before, it's going to be pretty doggone hard for George Flynn to unseat David Kustoff, who has been back in this district over and over again, knows the voters know him. And I mean, it said that he voted to fund Planned Parenthood for $500,000. I mean, that was part of the omnibus bill, where that was the big budget. I mean, what's he going to do, vote against the budget just because Planned Parenthood is in there? No. And $500,000 is, you know, it's a lot of money to me personally, but in the scheme of the whole budget of the United States, it's nothing.
Well, I wonder, though, is it effective, though? You say negative ads work.
Yeah,
with the crowd he's trying to reach, is it effective?
I think people will pay attention to it to some degree, but I agree with Susan. I think David Kustoff has been an effective congressman for his district. He does spend a lot of time in the district. He is tying himself every chance he gets to Donald Trump, which people out there will like. I think he will come back and try to explain and tell his voters this is a gross distortion. I just think that George Flynn is spending money just to be spending money.
I think the ad is amateurish, if you really want to know the truth. I think the attack ad Diane Black has aired against her two opponents and the three opponents in the Republican primary, two of them she mentioned, was really very well done.
Well, it's got more substance.
This is very amateurish.
Your quick take?
I just get to wear the referee outfit, so the whistle. I love all Republicans. I mean, I'll say this. Look, I mean, a lot of times we in the political business don't give the voters the credit for being smart. Right. They are smart enough to go do their own research. They'll see it. It'll be a point of reference, and then they'll go on from there.
There's a general election as well in August in Shelby County, electing a new mayor, and they're on TV for the first time. Let's look at David Lenore's ad, the Republican.
When I see on the news where a young person's been shot or sent to prison, I think that could have been one of my kids. One of the young men that I coached at Manassas. That's why I volunteered to coach. And that's why I'm running for county mayor. Because we need more after-school programs. We need to invest in our schools and our youth. And we need a mayor who will fight every day to keep gangs, drugs, and violent criminals away from our kids. I'm David Lenore, and I'm asking you to join our team. Together, we can build a safer, stronger Shelby County.
And if we can, back in the booth, let's go ahead and show Lee Harris's too, because what I'm struck by is how much alike they are. Go ahead.
I just want to introduce you all to our next mayor, Mr. Lee Harris.
Lee Harris is a smart, principled progressive who really cares about lifting Shelby County up out of poverty.
I'm supporting Lee Harris because he's fighting for our kids.
I support Lee Harris because we need a leader who cares.
I support Lee Harris because he believes in diversity and inclusion.
Shelby County needs an ethical decision maker, and Lee Harris is that guy.
Lee Harris can see an opportunity, and he can execute on it.
I support Lee Harris because Lee gets things done.
Every day in our campaign, we are building a coalition. The coalition we are building is multiracial, multi-generational, and spans the entire county. We know that no matter where you live in this community, no matter what your background, no matter how we got here, we all want the same thing, and that's opportunity for our kids and a community that thrives.
Both the candidates for mayor want to bring the community together, kind of kumbaya, as there's nothing that I would say is an attack at either one.
No, they're not attacking each other. I don't think they can afford to, because both of them realize that they need what is perceived to be the other person's votes. Lee Harris needs to appeal to the suburbs. Certainly David Lenore needs to appeal to the inner city. That's why you see so much racial diversity in both of these ads. I hear that David Lenore is making a little bit of inroads within the inner city community, especially in the faith community. He's spent a lot of time over there. So yeah, these ads are trying to say we're all one. We've got racial diversity here. We embrace that. I do think Lenore may have spent too much time talking about crime. That's not the only issue that people care about in the city.
I think that's the biggest issue that people care about.
Not
every poll I've ever seen.
But the county mayor is not the one to be talking about.
But people care about crime. And when you're voting for a mayor and crime is your #1 issue, you want to hear what their position is on it. And I understand why he did that. I think both of them are good ads. I think Lenore's is a little bit more slick.
Yeah.
But he was a volunteer football coach at Manassas, and he's using that as a platform to show the diversity in his life. I think it's a very, very effective ad. I thought Lee Harris's was nice, but
one thing that struck me, it was a minute long, and you don't see that very often. That costs a lot of money.
I
don't get as much exposure.
Knowing that white people and black people say that they support Lee Harris. Right. That's about all I get from that ad.
Well, I'm biased in this one. David Lenore, I think, is a great candidate. He obviously showed what he had done prior to going into Shelby County. I think the record that what David's accomplished for Shelby County government, plus what the current county mayor, Mark Luttrell, has done for Shelby County, I think he's saying, look, I've got a record to run on, and it's not just a kumbaya.
Easy for me to say.
Come together. I think, David's got some of that background, and I think he's going to start really laying that out over the next couple of weeks.
We can't have an election in Shelby County without there being some controversy, and that is the case again this year. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment.
I was going through a green light. He ran a red light and kind of hit me on the side.
Get your maximum benefits with Gaddy, Keltner, Bienvenue, and Montesi.
They're good attorneys.
Gaddy, Keltner, Bienvenue, and Montesi. 526-2126, it's easy.
When it comes to finding style and comfort at a great value, you don't have to go far. At Value City Furniture, you'll find the latest styles to create your own look. And it's all at a price that's right for you.
Hurry to the 4th of July sale at Value City Furniture. Right now, save 10 to 30% off store-wide, no minimum purchase required. Or get 36-month special financing when you spend $9.99 or more. Plus, shop now for 30% off all accessories. It's the 4th of July sale going on now at Value City Furniture.
Like it.
Lee Harris is a smart, principled progressive who really cares about lifting Shelby County up out of poverty.
I'm supporting Lee Harris because he's fighting for our kids.
I support Lee Harris because we need a leader who cares.
I support Lee Harris because he believes in diversity and inclusion.
Shelby County needs an ethical decision maker, and Lee Harris is that guy.
Lee Harris can see an opportunity, and he can execute on it.
I support Lee Harris because Lee gets things done.
Every day in our campaign, we are building a coalition. The coalition we are building is multiracial, multi-generational, and spans the entire county. We know that no matter where you live in this community, no matter what your background, no matter how we got here, we all want the same thing, and that's opportunity for our kids in a community that thrives.
Some lady pulled out in front of me and my car was totaled.
Hurt in a car wreck, call us and we'll take it from there.
I couldn't have done it without Gaddy, Keltner, Bienvenue, and Montesi.
Who knows how to get you maximum benefits? We do.
526-2126, it's easy.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Back to talk about the Shelby County Election Commission, which found itself in the middle of a controversy this week when Democrats were fuming over the fact that the early voting site that is going to open first, and this is always the case, there's one that opens for 4 days, has moved from downtown, where it was for years, to here, the Agri Center, which the Election Commission, which is headed mostly by Republicans, says it's most centrally located for everyone in the county to get to, but Democrats say you don't see a lot of MATA buses pulling up at the Agri Center, so it would be very hard for some folks to get to vote, especially Democrats that might want to. Red herring, or was this a legitimate controversy? You first, Scott.
Well, I mean, I think that, obviously these are all volunteers that are trying to run the election commissions. They generally do a very good job. I think that they're trying to accommodate as many people as possible, so it seems pretty logical. You put it in the geographic center where everybody can kind of get to it. We've got, over 14 days of early voting, so, there's plenty of time for people to get out and vote.
As we come on the air with this Sunday morning, it's very likely or probable that something may have changed, because we know the Election Commission is meeting right after we record the show on Friday afternoon, and there is some talk that maybe another location will be added inside the Beltway, Otis, and then they would keep one on the eastern side of the county. Right. So it just makes you wonder, why wasn't this thought of ahead of time?
Absolutely, and in the May primary, there was no one early voting site that opened before the others. They didn't have to do this. I said this the other day. Open them all at the same time, give everybody equal access, because it does raise a perception. And we've had enough perceptions about undermining voting. The first weekend of early voting is crucial, certainly for the Democrats, because they make a big deal out of it. Topeka, Kansas is geographically in the center of the country, but it's not easy to get to. And the same thing with the Agri Center. It's not easy to get to, even though it may be.
But if you live in Arlington, it's not easy to get to downtown, where the early voting site was for years and years.
I'm not in favor of the downtown site. Open them all at the same time, and we wouldn't have this issue.
Well, you wouldn't have the issue if they had kept the one downtown and just opened the second one at the Agri Center. I mean,
but they said they couldn't do that because their offices are close to the one downtown, and you're not supposed to do that.
Well,
that's what they said.
I don't disagree with you. If they're going to start early voting on Friday the 13th, then start early voting on Friday the 13th. Open them all up. Right. I never understood why we only had a single one downtown. Right. But But when the head of the election commission talks about that this was a data-driven decision and that they're looking at most of the central point of voter participation, they have to, in our community, you not only have to be politically sensitive,
right.
It's imperative that you're sensitive to the demographics of our community.
Right.
And I
but
think,
apparently this precinct is 54-46. It's pretty
the
close.
Democrats had a legitimate reason just before the election to stand up and scream. I agree.
Because the data also shows that more Democrats vote early, especially African Americans vote in early voting than Republicans do. So yeah, I mean, yeah, they are doing the best they can, volunteer group, but it is a Republican-dominated group. The Democrats did the same thing when they were in control, trying to make things easier for them.
I got 20 seconds.
Taking a bus from Westwood out to Agri Center might take 4 to 6 or 8 hours, but for people living out in the eastern sectors who don't have cars either, it took as much time probably to get to the downtown location. So, but I still think the Democrats are right in this case.
All right, we'll see what happens with that. I want to know why you would start anything on Friday the 13th. I'll take a break and be right back.
Morgan & Morgan is open 24/7 and ready to help you right now because justice never sleeps. If you were injured at no fault of your own, discriminated at the workplace, or need help with a Social Security or VA claim, call Morgan & Morgan. ForThePeople.com.
Your hard-earned paycheck. Nancy Pelosi and liberals in Congress don't believe it's your money, but I do.
David Kustoff is helping President Trump get America back on track. David helped pass historic tax reform, and now business confidence is soaring and more companies are reinvesting in America, creating more jobs, and middle-class workers are seeing bigger paychecks.
I'm David Kustoff, and I approve this message because it's your money, not the government's.
David Kustoff for Congress.
It's our 4th of July sale at Family Leisure.
It's hot and you need a pool. Only $6.99 complete. 24-foot pools now only $17.76 installed. Sit comfortably in a new patio set. Poly, sling, wicker, cast, and more. Huge selection of patio umbrellas, bases, and covers. Spas and swim spas at guaranteed lowest prices. Save big on outdoor play sets like this one. Barbecue islands, fire pits, and grills also on sale now, but you better hurry.
4th of July sale going on now at Family Leisure.
If you go to ForThePeople.com right now, you'll be able to speak instantly to someone about your case. Our phone lines are open 24/7, including weekends and holidays, because justice never sleeps. Let us give you the help that you deserve. Morgan & Morgan, ForThePeople.com.
Penny Hardaway.
Feels good, man, because, you know, it rolls back to when we were in school. You know, you were playing football, I was playing basketball, and now to make it come full circle and be the coach, it's an amazing feeling.
Anthony Miller.
Nothing's been given to me. I've always known, you know, with hard work, you're going to be rewarded. And I guess this is my reward.
James Wiseman.
All of these schools that's recruiting right now are great schools. They got great coaches. So all schools are even balanced right now, and I just got to weigh my options.
All went one-on-one with Local24's Doc Holliday.
No, hey, you're my guy.
And that's going to do it for us for Local 24 this week. My thanks to Otis. The debut appearance of Scott Golden. Love to have you on the show and have you back. And Susan Thorpe, of course, a frequent guest. We love having everybody get into it like we do. rransom@localmemphis.com is the email if you'd like to weigh in on today's broadcast or suggest future topics. We'll see you next time, folks.